In this tutorial, you will learn how to configure and activate automatic emails in VERA. Automatic emails are notices of receipt, automatic answers, automatic customer notes, and administrator notes. To configure an automatic email, please switch to the tab Settings in the administrative area and select VERA Global Texts there. Beside the automatic emails, you can also configure predefined texts like subject, header, content, and footer. First, select the type of automatic email you want to define. Auto response, normal. This email is sent to the customer email address by VERA after a customer email was received and analyzed. The customer email will be assigned to an agent to be answered manually. Auto response, spam. This email is sent to the sender address of emails that have been recognized as spam by VERA. The customer can then state that his email is not spam and thereby put his email back into the assignment process to agents. This process requires the VERA QM server to be installed and running. Auto response answer. This email is sent to the customer as a final answer. The email will not be assigned to an agent to be answered manually. Auto response customer notification. This email is sent to customers when their email reaches a certain age and is still not solved, which means answered, external closed, or external forwarded. Auto response administrator notification. This email is sent to one or more administrators' email addresses daily to inform them about the current number of unsolved emails of a certain age in selected subcompetence areas. Auto response inquiry escalation. This email is sent to inquiry recipients after a defined time span if VERA didn't receive an inquiry response by them yet. As the configuration of automatic emails is the same for all types, this tutorial shows how to configure a notice of receipt as an example. Please click on Auto Response Normal to list the existing notices of receipt in the upper right list. Now click on the button New to define a new notice of receipt. VERA opens a dialog in which you can set a name, a priority, and conditions for the notice of receipt. The conditions are used by VERA to decide for which received emails the notice of receipt is valid. The priority decides which notice of receipt is finally selected to be sent by VERA, where the highest priority is selected. The name of the notice of receipt has to be entered in the fields System ID and System Topic. Now you can define the conditions. Email account. Here you can define that the notice of receipt is sent only for emails that have been received from a certain email account. CA/SCA. Here you can select competence areas and subcompetence areas for which the notice of receipt can be sent. Email from. Here you can define customer email addresses. The notice of receipt is only sent if the received email was sent by one of the defined email addresses here. Email not from. Here you can exclude certain email addresses. The notice of receipt will not be sent for emails that have been sent from one of these excluded email addresses. Found words. Here you can define that the notice of receipt is only sent for emails that contain one of the words that is defined here. Not found words. Here you can define that the notice of receipt is not sent for emails that contain one of the words that is defined here. After you finish the configuration, please click on OK to create the new notice of receipt. Now switch to the tab Translations to define the text of the notice of receipt. You can define different language versions for each automatic email. VERA sends the language version that matches the recognized language of the received email. To create a new translation, click on the button New. VERA opens a dialog in which you can select the translation's language and set if the email should be sent as formatted HTML text or unformatted plain text. Now you can write the text in the editor. As VERA does not add headers and footers to automatic emails, it is important that you also add them to your text. The Select List macro contains several variable placeholders that you can use in your text. With macros, you can, for example, refer to the received date of the customer email. After you wrote the text completely, please click on OK to create the new translation. Afterwards, you can add further translations. The Automatic Administrator note is slightly different from the other automatic emails. One difference is that there is one more condition available for these emails, in which you can select the email statuses that should be counted and listed in the Administrator note by VERA. If, for example, you want to count only the unsolved emails, you select the corresponding statuses. The other difference is that there is a macro email list for Automatic Administrator note translations. This macro is replaced by a list of competence areas and subcompetence areas, and the number of emails in the selected statuses. After an automatic email was configured, it has to be activated. To do so, please switch to the tab Control and select the type under Management Automatic Emails there. Depending on the type, there are different settings to be made. For notices of receipt, you have to define a name, select the text that should be used, and the sender email address, and specify a validity. The validity is set with calendars for start and end dates and times. You can define different notices of receipt for different days and times of the day and choose from working days, free days, and holidays for days and working time, and not working time for the times of the day. The selection of days and times of days is done in Management Working Times in the tab Control. For automatic emails, it is necessary to define a name, select the text to be sent, and define a sender address. The checkbox below has to be deactivated. For automatic customer notifications, you have to define a name and select the text to be sent and the age that an unsolved email has to reach when the notification is sent. This value is set in days from the email's receive time. It is also possible to define a sender address and an optional recipient address. In that case, the notification is not sent to the customer, but, for example, to an administrator to inform him about the case. For automatic administrator notifications, you define a name, a sender, and recipient address and select the text to be sent. Below that, you set the time when the notification should be sent and the frequency, how often it should be sent. By default, the frequency is 1, which means that the notification is sent every day. You have to specify a minimum age for emails that are counted in the notification. With this, you can, for example, send a daily list of unsolved emails per subcompetence area that are older than 2 days. After changing the VERA configuration, it is necessary to save it. To do so, please click on the icon Save All.